undocumented migrant, sent a letter threatening to kill the president, promising to self-deport after the assassination. CNN reporting shows that investigators believe the migrant was set up. It was a victim of a setup. What is the administration going to do now?
Well, I want to clarify what you mean, so we're talking about the same thing. Are you saying this immigrant was here illegally?
Yes, but I am, and that's why I said that. I clarified that.
You said undocumented, and I wasn't clear what that means.
That's White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller fact-checking CNN host and political propagandist Pamela Brown for once again pathetically pushing Democrat-issued narratives about President Trump and his deportations. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it looks like CNN just accidentally booked someone who knows the law and isn't afraid to use it. Because when Stephen Miller shows up, the liberal euphemisms go out the window and the narrative starts breaking down, which is a problem for a side whose main argument in favor of immigration is relying on language games to turn national security issues into charity cases. Here's Stephen Miller calling out Pamela Brown for twisting words to defend illegal immigration.
And this is an undocumented immigrant. I do want to note that, but this was someone who came forward, was a victim of a crime, and now law enforcement believes he was set up. Go ahead.
I'm assuming they have a fake ID. I'm assuming they have a fake social security number.
That's neither here nor there. That's getting away from the question, Stephen. I want this to be, and call me naive, a good faith discussion about what's happening right now.
But when we use language that's designed to obscure the truth, that's not good faith.
An
illegal alien is an illegal alien. They're not an undocumented migrant.
Okay, that's fine. That's another discussion for another day.
I don't know the details of the assassination threat. All I can say, based on what you're telling me, is there's an illegal alien in our country who's making menacing threats. Regardless of the facts or circumstances, we don't want him here. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and I would gladly come back on when I have more information to share with you.
They were set up, just to be clear. But quickly, where is the White House on habeas corpus?
The illegal alien was treated unfairly. Yes, I'm sure the illegal alien was treated very unfairly.
You know, this is what happens when someone finally pushes back. Brown calls an illegal alien a undocumented migrant, like we're talking about a seasonal worker picking grapes or something. Then Miller dismantles it, and she gets all flustered and upset. I mean, this is the whole problem with the left's framing. They hide behind academic-sounding language to blur the lines between legal and illegal. But when someone points out that undocumented is just code for here illegally, suddenly the room gets real uncomfortable. What Miller said is just a basic truth everyone understood 20 years ago. If you're not here legally, you're an illegal alien. But now the media treats that like hate speech because it doesn't fit their fantasy of open borders and endless compassion with zero consequences. Here's Miller again, this time dismantling Brown's loaded questions about activist judges protecting those same illegals.
Do you think a judge should just rubber stamp what your White House does? If not, what checks and balances do you think should be in place for this White House?
It is not the job of a district court judge to perform an individual green light or red light on every single policy that the president takes as the head of the executive branch. Just think about the premise baked into your question, respectfully, Pam. You're saying that when the American people elect a president of the United States of America,
I'm not saying
well, it's the implication, who is the sole head of the executive branch. Well, let me finish. I will answer the question happily. But look, when you have these kinds of lazy assumptions built into questions, it makes it hard to have a constructive dialogue.
What is a lazy assumption? I said you all had to win.
You said no. You said is it my expectation?
I'm speaking
you
because
said,
now you're putting.
You said is it my expectation? It's not just you. It's the whole media. In other words, when you
I know
hear
you
a
want
sentence
to
like
it is a completely fair question. You say judges who rule against the White House
and I will
go rogue.
gladly answer it. When you say, do we think district court judges should rubber stamp each action? There is a premise that is built into that is absurd. The president is the sole head of the executive branch. He's the only officer in the entire government that's elected by the entire American people. Democracy cannot function. In fact, democracy does not exist at all if each action the president takes, foreign policy, diplomatic, military, national security, has to be individually approved by 700 district court judges. That's democracy. So if there's 15 communist crazy judges on the court, that each of them as a team working together can block and freeze each and every executive action?
You know, Miller hits the nail on the head here. CNN wants to pretend that Trump questioning activist judges is some wild conspiracy theory, but the facts say otherwise. I mean, these aren't neutral referees. They're unelected ideologues who block deportation, stall tariffs, and kneecap executive authority every chance they get. Judges like James Boasberg literally halted the deportation of Venezuelan gang members in March, citing due process while Americans pay the price. And it's not a one-off. Since 1963, about half of all nationwide injunctions against a president have been aimed at Trump's policies. That's not normal, that's a pattern. The fact of the matter is, these judges aren't guarding the Constitution, they're guarding the swamp. Trump tries to enforce the law while they try to rewrite it from the bench to fit their agenda. Here's Miller finishing the job and making Brown absolutely lose it on live TV.
A district court judge has no authority in this space whatsoever, not even a little bit. Not even a small amount, let alone it is true. So answer me this, why did Congress create Article 2 immigration courts? Because they didn't want Article 3 courts, and in fact prohibited Article 3 courts from adjudicating individual cases.
Okay.
Is it really your belief, as if it is, that's breathtaking to me, that when we're deporting an illegal alien, we have to get permission from an Article 3 district court judge?
Okay.
Like a trial judge? Belief. Is that your view?
It's how the law works and the Constitution
works.
No,
the law says explicitly that individual immigration cases fall underneath the Attorney General of the United States under Article 2. And the Article 3 courts have been stripped of jurisdiction wholly in this area.
There is a law, and it's a temporary protected status that says it's not subjected to judicial review, but that does not apply to all immigration issues. It's one law from Congress.
I'm glad that you're conceding that TPS rulings are unlawful. But the entire structure of
the Supreme Court weighed in on that. I am saying yes. The Supreme Court said the Trump administration was right on that issue.
One of many
twice
examples.
In the last
we are
few
always
weeks.
Right.
I mean, this is the core issue here. Article 2 puts enforcement power in the hands of the executive branch, but these activist judges keep trying to pretend they're in charge. Miller calmly explains that the Supreme Court sided with Trump on this more than once. And after all of her nitpicking, Brown ends up agreeing with him because she knows Miller won't let her keep editorializing for Democrats during the interview. It's clear CNN thought they were setting up a gotcha moment, but instead handed Miller a spotlight to explain why the judiciary keeps trying to override the will of the people. This is what happens when you invite someone who actually understands the Constitution onto your propaganda network. But let me know what you think. Should Trump be able to enforce deportations without activist judges throwing up roadblocks? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.